In this tutorial, I'm going to show you this very simple journal page where your words really stand out, and this is a unique faux calligraphy style with the brush pen. Hello, lettering friend. February 2023 marks the second anniversary of my book, Handlettering for Beginners, being published. So to celebrate, we're going to do some fun font projects together from the end of the book. And today's font style is the last one. So part 6 of all 6 font styles. I will link to the playlist so you can watch through all of them at once and do all of the tutorials together. The first thing we'll do is trace this font in the book. This should give you a good feel for how this might look. This is a very straight font. There's not a lot of loops. And it has that inline look because you're doing faux calligraphy, but you're using your brush pen. So you have the thick downstroke first, and then adding the faux calligraphy with that open inline. This is a really unique style, and I think it adds just an extra little detail that is so fun. And the pens that I used here are Tombow Fude in the color set. They're great small brush pens. As for the projects that we're going to do with this font, in my book, I used the rainbow background. I think that looks really good because this is a great font to be able to stand out on a rainbow background. But in today's video, because I'm using my journal, I didn't want to do a watercolor background. So I'm going to keep it even more simple. So you can stick with me in doing something simple where the words stand out. Or I will also link to the rainbow background tutorials that I've done on YouTube. So first you see I'm sketching out with my pencil. I always love to start with a pencil so I can erase anything and really get a feel for the size of my letters, make sure that they're exactly where I want them. And then I can add the other little flowers and any other details that I'm going to have in my piece. I just wanted this one to be really simple with the flowers because I wanted my lettering to really stand out here. And there's a lot of details in this font style with the inline, and so I didn't want to overwhelm the rest of the page too much. And like I said earlier, this font style doesn't have a lot of loops, so it is very straight so that I can keep those lines going straight for the faux calligraphy look. And I kept my lettering straight, the baseline the same. It was really helpful to use the dot grid here. That's how I got the consistent size of all of my letters. So if you're using a journal with a dot grid, that is definitely a bonus to help when you are laying out your letters. And the brush pen I'm using here is my Pentel Touch. I love these ones for small lettering. I recommend them to beginners because they're a really great way to start learning how to get the thick downstrokes and the thin upstrokes. And one thing you want to make sure with this font style is that you're leaving enough space between your letters so that you can go back in with the extra downstroke. So you want to make your letters a little bit wider than normal. Otherwise, you won't have room to add those downstrokes. And I'm using this quote, "There is beauty in the details," because I thought this was such a great font style to focus on the details. And really, when you think about it in life, the beauty is in the details. Sometimes we're going through hard things, but there are tiny little things to help us get through the hard stuff all along the way. And for the flowers, I'm using my Zebra mild liner brush pens. I just wanted these colors specifically in the flowers, and I'm just doing 1 petal and then 2 petals and then 3 petals. That's how I wanted to make my flowers grow. And the idea behind this was that the beauty in the details is that we're always growing, and sometimes that growth we don't see where we want to be right now, but if we keep focusing on the beauty in the details, the little things that keep us going, eventually we will see the huge flower that we wanted and that we were striving for. So this is a really simple journal page, but it has a lot of meaning behind it. And I don't really draw flowers very much. That's not my thing. It could be if I wanted to focus on that, but it's not. And so these little petals that I did, it's something that anybody can do. I didn't want to have really elaborate flowers, but I did like the idea of the growing flowers. And then finishing up these flowers, I added these little leaves and they kind of just look like thorns because they're all black. And at first I was like, oh man, that's not exactly how I wanted it. But I think it actually turned out better with the thorns because it's kind of that idea that as you're growing along the way, there are thorns. It is uncomfortable, but there's also beauty along with the thorns. And because I had my rainbow watercolor background project from the book, I decided to add my rainbow background pieces. These are some extra ones that I had laying around, and I wanted to add them to my journal next to this page so that I could remember that this is the project that was from my book. And I do have a watercolor journal now. I'm really excited to dive into it, and I can do my rainbow watercolor backgrounds in that journal. So here's the final piece. It is really, really simple and the words stand out. And just a little recap from all of the font projects. Here is a flip through so you can see all the ones that we've done throughout the past 6 videos. And here's that playlist so you can see which tutorial video that you want to follow along with. Thank you so much for joining me in this project, and thank you so much for the support of my book. I can't tell you how happy it makes me to hear that you are still loving it and still discovering the joy of hand lettering through that book.